right. So as I'm recording this, the trade deadline's just 2 weeks away, and the Cam Johnson trade rumors are kind of all over the place right now. So I'm just gonna go team by team. We're on the trade machine. Usually I don't really mess with like the trade machine. You can't really like perfect a trade or know the exact like trade like player for player, asset for asset that's gonna happen. But I do think it's smart to just go. We're literally gonna go down like team by team, and if it makes sense for every team, and kind of just get that sort of perspective of what's to come or what the expectation should be. So before we start, I know the Nets have been really adamant on two firsts, whether it's Mark Stein or Michael Scotto, whatever source it is. They've been saying the Nets have want two firsts, and when you look at the year Cam Johnson's having, it is kind of warranted to an extent. Um, can we check here? Like his numbers are just unreal this year. 40% on from deep pretty much. Uh, averaging nearly 20 points per game. I mean, it's just been really good and really surprising too. And I think that's the one thing I do want to talk about in terms of the two first round picks like asking spot because the Nets could be asking for like two picks but a 28-year-old leap on like a bad team, he has some injury concerns, he's dealt with a lot of knee stuff. So does it really make sense to give up two first round picks, especially in today's league? I know the Mikel trade kind of makes it so like picks are like just a fucking like free for all, but that's kind of not really the case here. Um, like for the Thunder, for example, we'll get into them. Like it makes sense, I think personally, but for is it fair for a team like the Pacers or the Kings? And we'll talk about that as we go team by team. So the Nets are kind of in a tough spot in that sense because you want to sell high for Cam Johnson. You need to sell high because you can't really just sit him out. The Nets are so adamant on tanking, you kind of have to trade him. And it's not just a tanking thing, too, because this is probably the highest you could ever get for Cam Johnson. You don't want a Dorian Finney-Smith situation. This time next year, he could be dealing with some injury, and all of a sudden, he's approaching the wrong side of 30. So that's something to keep in mind. But we're wasting too much time here. We got a lot of teams to talk about. So let's just get into it with the Cavs. I've seen a few reports regarding the Cavs, and that's mostly because, hey, they're the first seed. Like, why not go all in? They got Garland, they got Mitchell, Jared Allen, Mobley. Those are their guys. And then their starters have kind of fluctuated between Karras or Max Strus or Okoro. He hasn't really lived up to like the fourth overall pick. Dean Wade. And when you kind of think about it, Cam Johnson is like the perfect three hole. He gives them that spacing that they could use, because I know Mobley's shooting the hell out of the ball this year, but the Mobley Allen stuff could get tricky come playoff time. But really, Cam Johnson at the three, I think he's a three more than a four at this point. And the Nets, he's mostly played power forward. But you slot him in at the three. You slot in another guy could probably score like this version of Cam Johnson can score like 17 points per game in a playoff situation. I think this could really make the Cavs legit. However, they are kind of asset dependent, but there are a few things to kind of look out for. First off, the Karras contract, I think expiring. Former net, I think that would just make like the perfect basis to this deal. Some teams can't provide that. And as we saw with the DFS trade with the D'Lo contract, again, that's an expiring too. The Nets want expiring contracts. Personally, I think they're being a bit too adamant on this. When you think of the last time the Nets rebuilt, they were really focused on getting draft picks and taking on contracts. Now, different times they have way more picks, but like, is it the end of the world if you get a 2-year contract for like a first round pick? No, because that first round pick is probably going to be more valuable, and the Nets aren't going to be good next year, anyways. So let's say there's a 2-year. Let's say Karras was a 2-year deal. I don't think the Nets like shouldn't do this deal because of it. Like, if that makes sense. And then with like young guys, because I don't think the Nets are going to get two whole picks or two whole firsts, the Cavs would probably have to include Jalen Tyson. And then when we look at their picks, they just have a bunch of seconds. The 2031 pick can't be traded because of the Steven rule. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically 2031. Now, this package isn't like anything crazy. Personally, I don't think Tyson is that good of a prospect. He's kind of on the older side. He hasn't shown much. That's a pretty big red flag, in my opinion. Um, But it is interesting to play around with the fact, like, I think it comes down to how desperate both teams are because Tyson and a first, an unprotected 2031 first, that could be pretty valuable down the road, even if the Cavs look like they're going to be good for a while. Um, I do think, though, like, this is probably going to be a mid package, or hopefully it's a mid package, but it also could just be, hey, like, it could come down to the Cavs maybe throwing a few extra seconds and they're like, we want to get it done. Maybe the Nets really want to trade Cam. And I think that's how a deal would probably be done if both teams are really desperate to go on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of tanking and competing. Nonetheless, I do really like the fit of Cam and Cleveland. It does suck they don't have another pick. All right, Celtics, Knicks. I don't even want to waste time on them. They just either don't have the assets, they don't have the cap flexibility. But Knicks, hey, if you didn't trade 6 first round picks, maybe you could have gotten both of the twins. Who knows? I don't know. But you traded 6 first round picks for a role player. The Bucks, I'm not going to talk about them too much. Like, look, players can't be aggregated. They're in the second apron team, so it's pretty much impossible. Although I am a Giannis at the five believer, you'd have to trade Brook to make this work. It would be too complex. Um, Ideally, Cam Johnson would be like kind of a cool fit next to Giannis at the three. You move on from Middleton, but yeah, no, I'm wasting too much time talking about that. Now the Pacers, I think it was Jake Fisher today who said like the Pacers and the Nets have like progressed while other teams have regressed in this regard. The Pacers are kind of interesting because I think it was Michael Scotto, and by the way, Jake Fisher, like Michael Scotto, like these guys aren't shams, so it's like you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's also like, hey, the Nets really want to get a good deal, a good return for Cam Johnson. And yeah, but it's kind of getting to the point where it's like all over the place. It's like just take us to the deadline. Can a bidding war happen for the Nets, and can they win it, or can they get what they want? Um, yeah, but the Pacers. So you got Obi Toppin, that 4 year deal. Like we've been saying, the Nets want expiring. They want low end deals. I don't think they would take that for that sense. Aaron Naismith, he's kind of the guy, I guess, like his role is kind of what Cam Johnson would be. Like you do what, like Halliburton. They also have Ben Mathurin too, who's due for an extension. Do the Nets want to pay Ben Mathurin? Maybe, but again, it's not clear what the Nets want to do with the cap space. You can kind of tell that, they want to go big fish hunting. So, but it's also like, do they want to throw like money at a Ben Mathurin or a Jonathan Kuminga? Like the rebuild is still very early, and I just hope the Nets stay flexible in that regard. Like, don't just say, "Oh yeah, we're keeping this cap space for like two fucking stars," like the Knicks did in 2019 or some shit like that. You got to be flexible. But anyways, Jarius Walker is probably like the asset here, kind of with the Cavs as like the 2031 pick. Jarius Walker, you kind of want to walk away with him. I really liked him coming out of Houston. He hasn't really done much. He hasn't really gotten much playing time. Hey, next half for like if we get Walker, like he could just play 30 plus minutes every night while we lose games. Hopefully lose our way to Cooper Flag. So it's like that's why taking on a young player and you don't have to pay him for a while. He's got the 3 year deal. That would be pretty good. But yeah, the thing that makes it tricky is the Toppin, the Turner, Naismith. These are salary matchers. They're not trading Turner. Um, Toppin's too lengthy. Ben Mathurin, I think you can make it work. It'd be like Mathurin. Would it be like Mathurin and Walker? I can't see them parting with both. And then after that, like they don't really have any big contracts to match. Um, so they probably have to wow the Nets, like in a sense where they give them Toppin. Maybe the Nets really like Walker and like a pick in a few seconds. Like I think that's how it'd have to work. Can this happen though? Let's do Cam Johnson, Jarris Walker, and Naismith. Just see. Like we're not even gonna do the fucking cap. Like that could work. Maybe you kind of just upgrade Naismith, part with Walker. Picks, you can figure it out. So the Pacers are kind of an interesting team. They have been playing better as well. Um, but yeah, the contracts are kind of why I don't think it'd be really hard. It'd probably have to be that. And Naismith, Walker, and Capital. I don't know why the Pacers. That's a bit of an overpay, honestly. But yeah, they're a fun team to talk about in terms of that. I think Johnson kind of fits their offensive mold a bit. He's just a better version of Naismith. He's a really better version of Naismith. I still think it's being like understated how good Cam's been. All right. Hawks, I can't really see it. They're kind of set with wings. Hunter's had an incredible year off the bench. Zachary Risase probably. I still can't believe he was the first pick, but he's their guy, I guess, going forward. Jalen Johnson's been having a really good year. They're kind of filled on the wings. They do have the Clint Capella expiring. They can kind of play around. In fact, look, 22.2, 22 and a half. Sneaky little easy trade to make, but I can't see it because of the wings. That's kind of not what the Hawks need. Although I've really enjoyed the Hawks in that sense this year. They've just been a really fun team. But yeah, I think Johnson's kind of like redundant to what they have, and you'd also probably take minutes from the guy you just wasted a first overall pick on. Now the Pistons are kind of very interesting because they wanted Cam Johnson, but that was back with Monty, so who knows how much they want him now. They wanted Monty then, and they have a lot of big contracts. You look at Tobias Harris, 25 mil, Tim Hardaway, 1 year deal. They're not trading Cade. Fontecchio, Malik Beasley, and they have a lot of cap space to work with. Like, they don't have any trade exceptions, but look, 19.2 cap space. So we can try like Cam, we can do like Hardaway, and we can do this is too fucking window more, dude. Fuck it. And like boom, something like that could work. And boom, the Pistons are a playoff team, and they have a guy in Cam Johnson who can probably be a very good. They have Cam Johnson for the rest of his prime, and if this jump is real, it's probably going to feel sustainable. And it's like as Cam Johnson's 3 year deal is up, boom. Let's see what you have in Asar. Maybe one of these two guys, Ron Holland. Maybe they've kind of taken the next step. Maybe Ivy's kind of. Oh, he's got a negative 1.94 LeBron. Goddamn. But yeah, like after I kind of like the timeline window because as the Johnson contract would expire or get close to expiring, the Cade era could be progressing in a new. The Pistons will probably be ready for like a new jump at that point. So the Pistons are a very sneaky team for Cam Johnson. I haven't really seen them mentioned. It seems like they do want to take on cap space. They want to use their cap space to strike a deal, but maybe they just want to get assets because if you look here, their draft capital for a team that's been rebuilding for quite some time is kind of weak. So would they want to part with picks? It would be a bit too premature, but maybe if they just want to get it to the playoffs with Cade, it could work. Now the Magic. This is probably going to be the last. Yeah, this is probably going to. Yeah, this is the last East team. The Sixers are the last of the teams, but they've had such. They're not making a trade like that. I don't think. Maybe it makes sense with Paul George, but yeah, I'm yapping too much about these bottom teams. So the Magic are the last East team we're going to talk about. Now the reason why I like this fit so much is because he kind of is like the Magic player, just like a tall, like he fit. I don't know. I just like as a basketball fan, I think it'd be a really fun like fit, and all of a sudden be like, oh, the 8 seed Magic just got like a 20 points per game score, and all of a sudden like they're going to play the Cavs and maybe they look incredible when they're finally all healthy. And also another reason why I think they could be a fun team to talk about is it's a pretty like straight up trade that you can make. Cole Anthony's kind of been there for a while. I think he's kind of overdone his stay. Again, the 3 year deal isn't pretty. They're gonna be good with Paolo. They're gonna be good. You can just do something like this, and boom. And again, I do want to preface that the trades I'm making is sort of just like the basis of what a deal would look like in terms of like the salary match would probably be that guy that I'm putting in. So for the Pacers, it'd be Naismith. For the Cavs, it'd probably be Karras. For the Magic, for it to work, it'd be Cole Anthony. Um, Jet Howard, I kind of liked him out of the draft, although he like was kind of like jumper reliant and stuff like that. He was fun though. He's kind of like a worser version of Cam Johnson, like tall wings who can shoot. I don't know. But yeah, the Magic, because then the Magic roster gets pretty kind of interesting. You run out Suggs, maybe you move KCP to the bench, So you do Suggs, Cam Johnson, Paulo, Franz, and Wendell or Goga or whoever their center is. And then you can put KCP off the bench. And that's a pretty tough top six to out. Cole Anthony's not a big like playoff guy. Um, or his like play style is it. You still have Anthony Black, who's shown a lot of flashes this year. You still have De Silva, and you only give up like one pick. I think it kind of makes sense. Like, hey, like let's try 6'8" wings who can all kind of do whatever. Because Cam Johnson has kind of been able to do whatever. Um, so yeah, the Magic and the Pistons, I think, are teams that haven't really been talked about. And let's be real here, they're probably not going to strike a deal. But if they do, remember all the shit I'm saying right now. But that's mostly with the East. So if Cam Johnson gets traded to the East, I'm gonna say he either goes to the Pacers or the Cavs. I'm saying the Cavs because of the cap space and the pick, and also they're probably the most willing to take a risk on Johnson's like potential flukiness or whatever. Um, and then the Pacers because let's just say they think like I don't want to say give up on Walker, but if they include Walker, I think the Nets kind of have to take that deal and just say, hey, like this is our first like lottery pick guy in this rebuild. Let's see what he's got for the next 1.5 years because that's kind of the free fall stage of the Nets. All right, now we're out in the West with the Thunder. And again, by the way, like Cam Johnson as a player, I think is a good player. I think he showed that this year. Am I scared that like he's not going to put up 20 every playoff game? Absolutely. Am I scared that he could kind of be hunted defensively as a wing? Like he's not the best wing defender. He's not the best athlete. Yes, I'd be concerned about that. But if he gets straight to the Cavs, if he gets straight to the Thunder, I think that team would probably or should be the favorites. And unless it was like injuries, they'd probably win it all. But yeah, the Thunder. So honestly, I'd be pretty confident in a Cam Johnson trade happening if Sam Presti wasn't the GM that he was. And honestly, I don't even blame Presti because I mean they have looked incredible and they haven't even had a homegrown for like at all. Um, so you trade Cam Johnson. Now the contracts, this is why I think a Thunder trade would make a lot of sense. These contracts like are lengthy in terms of years, but they're not a lot of money. So and Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins are both good players. They could easily flip them if they're like, hey, we want more cap space. Or you can just keep them as good players. They're both pretty young still, or they're both entering their prime. Or you can just flip them. Kenrich Williams is another guy. Kason Waz. If you go on this channel that I'm uploading this video on, go to the draft preview that I have. It's one of my first videos. I was so high on Kason, man. It's really cool to see him have like a top six role on a team. Topic, they're not trading him. Dieng, he's kind of a hat or like a whatever, so he could be thrown in. I honestly don't even want to harp too much because I think everyone watching this video is gonna know that like Cam Johnson makes a lot of sense for the Thunder. They basically have SGA, J Will or J Dub, that's his name, J Dub, um, Cam, Chet, Hartenstein, Dort, and then one of Jones and Wiggins and Caruso. Like holy shit, I don't think any team is winning that. I think they could have like Chet like be unhealthy and like yeah. But yeah, if Sam Presti, like, here's the thing. Here's my message to Sam Presti. You don't get windows are always in every sport. They're always shorter than expected. Like, don't waste a year. If the Nets want to make a deal with Cam Johnson, like, get it done, man. You can draft all these up. You literally have the Sixers pick this year, and it's gonna be it could be in the lottery. Like, you can literally do the same shit and keep Toppage. Like, come on, Sam Presti. All right, Rockets. The salaries are kind of too difficult here. Van Vliet and Brooks kind of play a big role for them, and again, the contracts are kind of too lengthy. Jalen Green, I mean, he's probably one of the most bipolar players in the league. Steven Adams is an interesting contract. I've seen their names and rumors a few times. Like, would Steven Adams and Jeff Green work financially? I believe it would. We can check real quick. I'm kind of mad that I'm harping too much on this on the Rockets because I think this is like very unlikely. Um, oh, it is a success. But yeah, like low key, I I did not think the Rockets would like be a good fit, but two expiring guys who aren't going to help you win games. You get the Uncle Jeff reunion. They got the picks to offer, and yeah, like if they want to, but I think the Rockets are ready to go big fish hunting. They have a lot of guys like Amin Thompson, who looks like a guy who's going to be a great player in this league for a while. They're going to have to pay him down the road. Şengün's contract's going to kick in. Jalen Green's on big money. You're gonna have they're probably going to want Booker or a KD or a big star soon or a De'Aaron Fox. So that's why I'm kind of going to hold off. Now the Grizzlies, there were some like weird reports. I think it was from Scotto, Michael Scotto, who was like saying like the Grizzlies like were mad that like Cam Johnson or the DFS they didn't take the DFS deal. That's like whatever to me. Um, so now we're gonna talk about Marcus Smart. I guess would be the matcher here. He's been really bad, and this is what I'm talking about in terms of the Nets can't be too horny for straight up expirings because look, like Marcus Smart, he's not good. He's not going to help you win games. And I think the goal for the Nets should be draft in the lottery these next 2 years, yeah, 2025, 2026, and then attack for 2027 when you got a little bit of a young core. And then maybe there's a star that you're eyeing. Like, is a Marcus Smart being on the books for 1 year going to be that deep? No. Is he going to help you? You know, he's a little culture guy too. So, like, that could work a lot. And after that, the Grizzlies are another team that it's kind of like a straight up deal. Kennard, he declined his team or his no trade clause. They declined Jake LaRavia's team option, so like maybe they just like part their ways or pay their dues or whatever. And then yeah, you give them a first, and it's like boom, you get off the Marcus Smart contract, and you turn it into a guy where all of a sudden you got Morant, you got Bane, you got Cam Johnson, you got Jaren Jackson, you got Edie, and you got fucking Santi Aldama, who has been a beast this year off the bench. You still have GG Jackson. You still have Scottie Pippen. You draft well every year. Come on, Grizzlies. Call the Nets, man. Call the Nets. And again, I think this is why I'm still holding out hope that the Nets actually are able to strike a deal and a good deal because Grizzlies, Cavs, maybe Thunder, maybe Pacers, sneaky Pistons, sneaky Magic, if offers are on the table, hopefully a team just says bites and gives you like, hey, we're gonna fucking beat this offer and we're gonna make this trade. Nuggets, CBA, it's not gonna work. Clippers, I kind of like the fit. You know, Harden, Powell, Kawhi, Cam Johnson. They're not gonna trade Norman Powell. Although sneaky sell high on Norman Powell, nah. I don't think it's gonna happen. PJ Tucker and man would have to probably be yeah. The salaries just don't work here, man. And the take kind of doesn't either. It kind of does. It could be a cool fit with Harden. All right, Lakers. I don't really want to talk about the Lakers, man. It has been the same goddamn story with them for every deadline for like the last however many years. They hoarded these picks when Kyrie. I mean, the Nets did offer. I don't think the Nets were ever going to trade for Kyrie because of how things went down. They're never going to trade these post Laker era picks or whatever. They've been in no man's land for so long now, ever since the Russ trade, and where they're like, oh, like we're gonna go all in, but we're not gonna trade shit. Like we'll take Cam Johnson for Jared Vanderbilt's 4 year contract and the has been of Gabe Vincent. Like, come on now. I don't think a deal will get. I don't think the Lakers are gonna make any big moves, and if they do, it's not gonna be Cam Johnson. Maybe it is, and maybe hey, maybe they get their picks, but not. Palenka's falling in bed. And let's just knock it out of the park. I see the same with Golden State. Now I've actually seen a bit more interest about Cam Johnson to Golden State, but I think with Kaminga, I don't think the Nets are going to want to pay him, and I don't think Golden State would want to give him up for a non-star. Another team that is wasting a legend. I mean, maybe they're honestly you can say like they're making the right move and stuff. Mavs, by the way, aren't going to work. Like too many wings, and also they're kind of in like a bridge year with all the injuries too. So I don't think they're like giving up more assets for Cam Johnson. All right, Kings. This is probably the last team worth a damn. Yeah, let's just knock out the Timberwolves and the Spurs. Spurs, you got the Barnes contract. Again, 2 years. Like, don't harp on that shit. Maybe the Spurs want to be buyers and just get Wemby in the playoffs. That would be really fun for the NBA. Um, yeah, there are low key a lot of like out of nowhere teams that can just say, "Hey, we want Cam Johnson on our team." Like the Pistons, the Hawks, the Magic, the teams that are like on the younger side. If they want to make the next step, Cam Johnson's like there, and the trade is there. It's just, do you want to give up assets for a 28-year-old who's never had a year like this and all that stuff? And Timberwolves, it would be like the J. McDaniels contract, and that is a really, really, really bad contract. DiVincenzo and Conley, like that's just too much. Two guys who are kind of key pieces going forward. They just gave up a lot of assets for Dillingham to trade up for him. So yeah, no. All right, Kings. We're gonna close it out with the Kings. So what we know, I think we know the most about these discussions. Herder would have to go in. We're gonna actually like do this trade. Herder's gonna have to go in. Now, like the secondary contract or whatever. Trey Lyles could be in that deal. Um, you can also put in a guy like Jordan McLaughlin, Alex Len, Dougie McBuckets. I'm wondering, can like this be a salary basis? Yes, it can. So like these are two like nobody of players for the Kings, right? Why would and the dispute is here, and I said this on Twitter. The best asset the Nets could realistically get is probably a Kings unprotected first. They don't have their first this year. I think from the DeMar. I'm not gonna check. But from the DeMar maybe. Um, but yeah, uh, a 2026 first. Is Cam Johnson gonna fix like the King? I know they've been super good as of late, but is Cam Johnson gonna save the De'Aaron Fox situation? Is Cam Johnson gonna make them like a team outside of a top 20 pick? Probably not. And that is why that pick is valuable. It may not be like a blow up like Celtics Paul Pierce trade pick, but it could be a damn good pick. Um, just make it lottery just make it like top 10 protected, top 8 protected, man. Because then maybe if the Kings wanted, they could have like a fucking panic and they can try and get that pick back, similar to what the Mavs did to get Lively a few years back. That would suck for the Nets, but maybe that's something they could meet crossroads on or make amends to. Um, but yeah, like the Kings, I think are another team that if they want to make an offer, they can get the deal done. But again, are the Kings gonna try and save the Fox era through Cam Johnson? I mean, like that's a weird roster, man. Like Fox, Monk, DeMar, you have Keegan Murray, DeMar, all for what? Like home court in the play-in? I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, those are all the teams. I'm interested to see how long I yapped for. I did this in one cut. But yeah, my predictions. I think we'll close it off on that. I think the Cavs are. I think if he's gonna get traded, the top three would probably be. I'm gonna say Memphis. I'm gonna say Sacramento, and I'm saying them because the pick and the young player doesn't feel like an overpay, but it meets the Nets like want or whatever. Like they could also the Kings can offer like Colby Jones. Like Colby Jones isn't a crazy young player. Like come on. Yeah, sneaky teams: Cavs, Magic, Pistons. I like his fit for those teams too. Same with Houston. Nah, Houston now. But yeah, Kings, Thunder if they want to. Thunder if they want to. They're favorites. Like it's that simple. If Cam Johnson's their guy, Cam Johnson is a Thunder. But yeah, Cavs, Pacers, Kings. I think those are kind of my teams. Um, and Grizzlies. Those are like my top four. Anyways, that's gonna do it. I think Cam John. Yeah, that's my last point. Cam Johnson could stay, man. Like, don't be surprised. We've seen Marks really be stingy on guys. Is he gonna be Danny Ainge level stingy? I hope not, because that's how you get a roster like this. A roster full of vets. Your best prospects are Taylor Hendricks and Cody Williams because you couldn't sell slightly low, not sell low, not sell super super high on Larry Markkinen, on John Collins, or on Colin Sexton, on Jordan Clarkson. You don't want this young core, Nets fans. So yeah, trade Cam Johnson. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still here. It gets pretty tricky in terms of trading him. You'd have to trade him in the summer, assuming he closes out the year strong. You have to trade him in the summer, or else you are not going to get the same value. I can say that with my chest. Um, but yeah, trade Cam Johnson. I think that's the most straight up way. I think the package will be able to be good enough if a Cam Johnson trade happens. Don't be expecting some haul. That'd be thrilling, but don't be expecting some haul, Nets fans. Anyways, that's gonna do it. Please like and subscribe. I'm probably gonna put out some more draft content next week until we get closer and closer to the deadline. Because I did a Nets talk video. You go check that out. And other than that, yeah, at this point for the Nets, man, it's like wait until the deadline. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and sub. It's much appreciated. And I hope to see you guys all in the next video. Hope you guys are all well, and peace.